Hey everyone, welcome to the Uncensored Match Build-Up Show. I'm Paul Machin. Dan Clubb is alongside me, and Fart Master General Chris Payjack is over
disgusting.
The floating head of the board. Yeah, obviously the Reds are travelling, have travelled down to the Vitality Stadium. The kick-off will be at 4:30, so we're going to have a little chat around the Reds, what the team is likely to be before we find out what the team is actually going to be. Dan, I was reminded that you were at this game last year. Yep. Do you remember what Liverpool's starting 11 was for that game?
No, I do not. Funnily enough, I had a chat with Neil Jones about this last night at the Academy. We were trying to work it out between us, not even knowing this was going to come. And no is the answer to that. The midfield in particular was kind of lost on me. I know Bacchetic started. I can vividly remember that. Correct. And I can vividly remember Harvey Elliott starting as well, because I also vividly remember watching him stand anywhere close to Philip Billing and go, that looks like a mismatch to me. I'm no expert really when it comes to sort of physicality, but that doesn't look like a fair battle. Yeah. And as it transpired, it actually wasn't.
I have totally scrubbed this game from my memory, but Liverpool's 11 last time we played them last season, the 1-0 defeat, was Alisson, Robertson, Van Dijk, Konate, Trent, Bacchetic, Fabinho, Elliott, Nunes, Gakpo and Salah. So yeah, obviously certain reasons we can't be that team, least of all that there's one of the players doesn't play for us anymore, and 3 of them are definitely injured for this game, so that will be guaranteedly different, if nothing else. It's interesting though, again, because I totally scrubbed it from my memory, I hadn't really thought about how the game had even gone, but I reminded myself of the overall statistics. 70% possession, we had more shots on target. The mission for this game is, I mean, it's going to be a different Bournemouth. You know, they're going to play differently, they should hopefully play a little bit more footy or whatever, but we're going to face this increasingly throughout the season. This is what we came undone. We just couldn't beat enough teams, and particularly away from home, Dan. So yeah, it's on the Reds, I think, to make sure that they break this down early and then see where the game takes them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we're going to be under no misconceptions heading into this one. Bournemouth, regardless of what sort of fettle they're in, of a difficult proposition, certainly at home. But right now, this is the 2 informed sides in the Premier League, essentially, give or take. You know, so it's going to be a difficult challenge. They themselves are missing a couple of players for AFCON in particular. They'd like to have available too. I think 2 of their wingers are absent for this one, so perhaps not quite the threat, but they've suddenly started understanding what's required of them under Iraola, and it's like a penny's dropped, and they're playing brilliant football because of it. But I think you're right. I think their approach will suit us ever so slightly more. I joke about Philip Billing and their physicality. That was the problem primarily last season in this fixture. We just weren't able to step up and match them physically. I think we had a chance with Virgil van Dijk just before they scored, actually, and who knows, it's a different game then, because you're right. If Liverpool score first in this, it makes the entire proposition a lot easier. But if all of a sudden you give the home fans some encouragement as to they've got a chance in this game, it's a different ball game altogether.
Absolutely. We'll take a little look at Bournemouth's injuries in a moment, but Jurgen Klopp did his pre-match press conference. He was talking about the availability of a few of the stars ahead of this game. Here's what he had to say.
And then we will know more. Of course, it was in that moment a shock. Oh my God. What's it? Couldn't see that it was like hit by something like this high intense, and then going down. You have these kind of hamstring injuries different way, but you still felt it, and we all know how rarely Mo goes off or needs to go off, and so there's definitely something, and we will see. But I have not more information right now.
It's not a situation where you have to send your medical staff over.
Yeah, we will see. That depends on the diagnosis. We have to. Will be ultrasound, and we will do MRI, and then we will know what it is, and then we will see what each plans. Yeah, but that's too early. Sorry. No, yeah, they're all positive, but not ready. So, but they're all going in the right direction, and we're getting closer and closer and closer. And some of them might be in kind of part of team training next week. So for the Bournemouth game, I don't expect anybody back from there. I hope that nobody will be out until then. But after Bournemouth, I think, especially after maybe for Fulham, we will see how the boys do. But they're all close. Trent close, Tom close, Robbo close. Who else? Dom. I said Dom. Again, Dom? Yeah. You should hear it. That's true. And so it's all going in the right direction. That's all positive. But for the weekend's game, no.
Yeah, so good news and bad news. Not so good news in the very immediate short term, and particularly focused around this game, but potentially better for the midweek. I mentioned it. You because obviously you mentioned the players missing for Bournemouth. According to PremierInjuries.com, 10 players unavailable potentially for them today. Tyler Adams could be back, but probably not going to be back till March. Hamed Traore likely not back till the back end of February. Kerkez should be back in a week or so. Adam Smith, I'll run through them. Senesi, Lloyd Kelly should be is going to face a late fitness test for this one, so he might be back in there. Ryan Fredericks, Dango Utara, Semenyo, and Darren Randolph, who I had no idea was at Bournemouth. I'll be perfectly honest until that point. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Hi, Chris Pajak. Hello. How are you feeling about this game of football?
I am feeling pretty good about this game of football. I think Dan mentioned before, Iriola's got them playing pretty well at the moment, but I think you can see behind me that I've picked Liverpool's most physical midfield for this battle after the conversation of last year. You see McAllister, Jones and Elliott. There's a physical midfield for you, isn't it? And listening to you talk about this, I think it should have changed that. And then I looked at the bench and was like, is Gakpo, he's taller, but is he more physical than the other lads? And you could maybe question it around Gravenberg and stuff as well. But it should be an interesting one, shouldn't it? Obviously, we've got a game midweek, we've got another game at the weekend and all that. So lots to look forwards to, but ultimately the Premier League is the most important thing. And we want to get that 5-point gap to Manchester City by the end of today's game.
It's an interesting question, that, Dan. Let's pull on that thread a little. If you were to pick a more physical midfield, because Chris mentioned Cody Gakpo there, I'm going to try and find it, but my suspicion, from my understanding of when he's played in midfield, has often been as much out of necessity as actually out of just putting a bit more of a physical presence in the middle of the pitch. So it wouldn't shock me if Cody Gakpo, based on that sentiment, actually did play in midfield for us today.
No, not me, because I think that's absolutely spot on. So I think it is the height element. I also think it's sometimes when he fancies getting 4 forwards on the pitch. We've seen him do it a little bit with Firmino, not so much, but he has a sort of a feeling, a hunch that he was 4 attacking lads on there. The problem today is, of course, is what he's got at his disposal, or what he hasn't got at his disposal, more importantly. I think a more physical midfield from the Liverpool squad, if everyone's fit and available, would look like Szoboszlai, perhaps Gakpo, perhaps Gravenberch, and definitely Wataru Endo. Unfortunately, I actually agree with Chris's sort of chosen midfield there, because although Gravenberch does offer the extra height, I don't think he's enjoying his greatest form right now. And Cody Gakpo, essentially, I think I might have seen enough of him being experimented with. I think... Okay. Don't cut that there, by the way. Don't cut that there, because I definitely haven't. I have not seen enough of Cody Gakpo, let's just clarify that right now. But I think he needs a run in the team, or at least when he's used, whether he's from the bench or whatever, sort of in a position that suits him more. I think just dropping him in and out, and it suits Jurgen Klopp perfectly because he's the ideal candidate to be a squad player. But for Cody Gakpo's own personal sake, he needs to play in positions that are more suited to his game.
Yeah, thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, I agree with Dan, to be honest with you. I sort of went with this midfield. Obviously, McAllister, I think, right now is picking himself. I think we're a better side when Jones is in there, regardless of who's fit and available. If Szoboszlai's fit and available, I still think we're a better side with Jones on that left-hand side than maybe someone like a Gravenberg. And then I was thinking more like around the experiment of Elliott on the right-hand side. You could see that again today, but I just fancied that Klopp might want to use Diaz on the right-hand side, keep with Núñez from that left-hand side, maybe play Jota up front. And, he's not tall, but he is a bit of a fella who's just going to run around and chase people, Elliott. And there's different types of physicality, isn't there? And maybe it's not, he's just a bit more of a terrier than Gakpo is, whereas Gakpo might be tall, but feels a little bit more like a passenger in the midfield at times. So that's why I sort of went with those players. I think the back five probably pretty much picks itself. Unless you were maybe going to throw Kwanzaa in there because your preference in the midweek match for someone like an Ibu Konate. But I think the forward three is probably where I've struggled the most. I don't know what you guys think and who you would play up front.
Yeah, we'll come on to that in 2 seconds if you don't mind, mate. Because it is an interesting point. Just on the Gakpo thing in midfield, though, Dan, I was looking through, and this transfer market, so sometimes they're right and sometimes it's an interpretation thing. But in times when he's played in midfield, obviously first game of the season against Chelsea, he played in midfield against Bournemouth at Anfield, second game of the season. Now, so again, this is where it was unsure whether this is on other player availability or what have you. But in that one, Elliott and Endo and Bajcetic are all on the bench for that game. Then
that feels like a 4-forward one to me, sorry to interrupt, where Klopp just fancies going for the throat a little bit as we get 4 attacking lads or really attacking lads on there to try and kill it off early.
Yeah. Luton away, Brentford at home, Man City away, Fulham at home in the league. He played in there as well, and then Man United at home was another one. So yeah, interesting mix of options from him in there. Wouldn't surprise me. Sorry, Chris. Right, but yeah, back to the front conversation, because yeah, we had this debate on the podcast, didn't we, this week? I brought the Diaz right hand side thing up. I would like to see him have a go on the right hand. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I would, to be honest with you. I think personnel wise, I'd be in agreement with Chris. I think it's a combination of Núñez, Jota and Diaz. In terms of, I guess the beauty of those three is just how fluid that can be. Because I think they all play in all three of those positions, apart from Darwin Núñez on the right. I don't think that's something we're going to see indefinitely, but you never know. He could pop up over there and do a job for 5-10 minutes of the game, give defenders different headaches. But I think in terms of from the outset, I think I'd be Diaz from the right, Jota through the middle, and Núñez on the left. The right hand side is my real bugbear at the minute, and it's such a difficult one because when you've lost Szoboszlai, obviously Mohamed Salah and Trent, you haven't just lost individual footballers, you've lost the entire system, essentially. Certainly in Trent's case, you know what I mean? So it's so difficult to replace them. You've almost got to do a patch-up job and get by. But I think Diaz, what he's done there so far in his short spell has been pretty impressive. I think Jota might be the most naturally suited given his two-footedness, but I'd like to see Diaz just given a little bit of confidence, say, do you know what, you can be the guy to replace Salah for a little bit, go and do it.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, Chris, because those three, it could well be those three, but it could well not be anything like that.
No, exactly. I mean, listen, obviously Diaz could just quite easily start there. Núñez could play up top and Jota could play on that right-hand side equally. You could just switch those two around. That's the conundrum, isn't it? And obviously, you know, we're forgetting that Gakpo came on and scored when Núñez was on the left-hand side and he was playing through the middle last time out and stuff. So Gakpo's probably going to want to say something about who he's going to be in that front three. But it was the impact, I think, of Diaz when he came on the right and Núñez on the left-hand side, which has sort of led me to this guy being through the middle in Diogo Jota. But you are absolutely spot on. All three of those players can play in a sort of myriad of positions, and that could change in-game. It could change at the start of the game. It might not change at all, and that's going to be a problem for Bournemouth. Because if Liverpool fans and Jurgen Klopp might not have even decided on what his best front three is, then Bournemouth is going to be very, very difficult for them to find out and plan for who Liverpool are going to use and where they're going to use them.
Chris, I'm going to turn the camera off for a second, and I want you to hide somewhere on the wall.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Go on. In your face, Sky Sports. You just don't bring this level. Do not bring this level of entertainment. We again go back and forth on it. I agree. I think we looked better against Arsenal when we had the pace on the flanks. Jota's an absolute killer in front of goal, so I see no reason why we can't start him up there. But that's where we've got the options, and I think that's that's the counterpoint almost to not playing Gakpo from the start, because that's where we've got our depth. So if you start all four, well, all of the attacking depth you've got is on the pitch all of a sudden, and you lose the ability to make a really big positive change from the bench.
Absolutely, and Gakpo's versatility, which you already touched upon, means you've got even more tricks up your sleeve with him, because if you do need a midfield lad to change the game, it can be go to Gakpo all of a sudden. If you need him to play as a 9, if you need him to play left wing, whatever. So yeah, I think definitely leaving one of them on the bench is the way to go in this one. A lot of people in the comments talking about Harvey Elliott from right wing. I think Szoboszlai's injury puts pay to that a little bit. I can't see that being a thing today necessarily.
We could see Gravenberch and Elliott again, like we saw midweek. They've now done a 55-60 minutes of
the
it,
same triangle all of a sudden with Bradley him. Maybe they're on the same wavelength all of a sudden after working on training a little bit. I'm not entirely sure, but for me, I must admit that 11 that Chris has got does feel like the 11 to go with.
I kind of tend to agree with that. We should know any second now, to be honest, but we had a few people saying it. Got a weather update for you.
It's windy.
BBC.com weather. It's 12 degrees C, a fairly balmy 12 degrees
What
C.
does it feel like, Paul?
Well, apparently, I don't know.
It's windy. Isn't it?
It feels windy.
That's my bad. The team is out as well.
Precipitation 0%, humidity 82%, wind 29 miles per hour. Fast. That's some fast wind, Chris.
That is fast wind.
Chris is going to quickly shuffle through his decker. How have we not got an Owen Beck? How have we got a James McConnell?
We've got 2 James McConnells, Paul. I went through every one of them. We've got loads of them. We've actually got the team right and the subs right.
No!
I'm really surprised about whether they're in the right
Everyone,
order
round of
or not.
applause in the comment section for Mr. Chris Pajak, everyone. Bang a like on the video to celebrate his wonderfulness.
Look at Owen Beck there.
It's a bit embarrassing, that, isn't it? I mean, we've got like all the coaching staff over there, all the under 18s. Apparently, if you go out on loan for Liverpool Football Club, you are dead to
Persona non grata at Redmen
I haven't seen a Nat
Studio.
Phillips one.
There's a Phillips
There'll
somewhere.
be last
We own a
season one,
Phillips.
won't there?
We own a
Well, I've
Phillips.
been through all of the 6 different piles in this room, and I couldn't.
Have you tried the drawers?
No, I did not try the drawers.
We own Phillips. Beck is not in there though. I can definitely not in there.
So anyway, the team in its entirety: Alisson Becker, Joe Gomez, probably from the left-hand side, Virgil van Dijk, Canate, Conor Bradley, McAllister, Jones, Elliott, Nunes, Jota, and Diaz. And the subs: 2 goalkeepers in Keller, Adrian, Owen Beck, Kai Gordon, McConnell, Clark, Gakpo, Kwanzaa and Gravenberch. So that is it. And then it is just about which order we played them in. And are you... Because going off what you guys were talking about a minute ago and having options up your sleeve, Nunes has kind of, you know, been a bit of a battering ram up front, and then when he's moved to the left-hand side, he's almost kicked us on like a substitute at times, hasn't he? So maybe we could see something a little bit more like that, where Nunes does start in the 9, and then maybe if you need to change the game, he moves over. But I'm going to stick with what I went with originally and hope that I'm right.
Yeah, Lance says brought on the budget. Bad luck, Beck lad. Yeah, I cannot believe we've not got an Owen Beck card. We've got the amount of rubbish nonsense we've got.
There's a lad round here who hasn't actually signed for Liverpool ever. We've got him on a card.
Really?
Yeah, promise you. Not going to reveal who.
I know who it is. I went through
But
every pile.
that's a thing. Yeah.
He's a DM.
That is a thing. That's a thing that
Have we
happens.
got an Andre card? Is that what we're
We might have an Andre card. We might have.
I'm so convinced. Outstanding.
Owen Beck. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, unfortunately not. Rabadam, who decided to take the High Chris game to a new level, says get Steve to hide, then we can play Where's Baldo. That's just offensive.
I seen it and I wasn't going to pay
That's
attention
just
to it.
offensive.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Hide the egg. It's the game. What are you talking about?
Nabil Fekir card, somebody says. I like
Yeah,
that.
no,
I like that, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it goes with that the Memphis Depay video that Chris got screenshotted for many years ago.
We had a Fekir video as well.
Oh, yeah,
Ben
ready to
Kenny was
go.
on that one, I think.
But we did like it. We had the old starting 11 board was the old Sabutio board with the smaller face magnets, and we had one that said Depay on it or something, and there was a video, and yeah, that was Man United fans laughed their little asses off of that one, didn't he? Well, you know what? He who laughs longest.
That wasn't even we'd signed him.
No.
It was what would we look like if we
Yeah,
had him
okay.
in the side rather than anything else.
yeah.
Not the reason that we did the Andre.
Worse, it turns out, was the answer. Yeah, much worse for having Memphis Depay in there. Bring out the Goethe and Konoplyanka cards, says 8-11. Yeah, 100%. Alex Reddo agrees. Look who's laughing now. Absolutely. Not Barcelona. They weren't laughing either.
No.
I thought they were. Idiots. I'm sure he's a fine footballer. Yeah, the question is, will Liverpool be wearing green today? According to the Liverpool official graphic, they will be wearing green down at the Vitality today. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I mean, the Elliott thing's a big call. I really think it is. But he's earned his right to start games of football for Liverpool, Dan. He's been brilliant this season.
Yeah.
And Gravenberch has started well, but he's not been better than Harvey Elliott. So, if it's down to who's in the best form, then that midfield is the midfield that's got to play, really, because there's nothing else.
No, 100%, yeah. I don't think there's a conversation around Gavin Birch starting ahead of Harvey Elliott in terms of meritocracy, in terms of pecking order right now. That is the midfield. I think I was tongue-in-cheek critical of Harvey Elliott in this fixture last season, but he's come a long way even since then. He's developed further, he's become more physical with himself, he's more confident midfielder now, because don't forget, we were still sort of converting him from a right winger at that time, and he's now learned that trade. He looks very accomplished in there, so I have no real concerns about it. If it becomes an absolute slugfest, and it's windy and it's rainy, it's disgusting, and you do need physical battles, then yes, Harvey Elliott isn't prime for that necessarily, but Liverpool will want to dictate terms here. We'll want to play our own football, get the ball down, pass through the lines, play the Liverpool way under Jurgen Klopp. So if Iraola suddenly reverts back to old school Sean Dyche at Burnley tactics, then yes, it might be a difficult one for Elliott to sort of get in. If the ball's constantly 6 foot, 8 foot in the air, it's a different contest, but as things stand with the way they're playing, the way we want to play, I see no issue with Harvey Elliott whatsoever.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. Would anyone like me to give you what should be a really encouraging stat about Dom Solanke, but will actually just feel like I've jinxed it and make you feel nervous?
I mean, he's never scored against
us.
My work here is done. Thanks, Chris.
Why would you?
I didn't do anything. Your words, not mine. 7 appearances he's made against Liverpool. Made 27 fours. I was nice to hear Klopp talk about him, actually.
It was, yeah.
And it's a great example of one of those footballers for whom I think I always felt he had something, but it's telling, because you get a lot of this recriminations over Liverpool, who they bought him, who should they buy. I mean, we're currently watching Danny Ings getting tripped in the box for West Ham. It was a terrific footballer as well, but things just conspired against you sometimes. And the thing about Solanke was that I'm glad that he's doing well, because he's a good lad and he's a good player, and we've got a little connection with him. But look at what he's had to go through to get to here, and that makes me feel a bit more relaxed about the fact that Liverpool let him go. We got good money for him. He's had to go and do it in the Champions. It's been years of him getting to this sort of stage.
Well, this is the first time he's reached double figures in the Premier League, I think I'm right in saying. So you're right, if he'd have gone straight from us to Bournemouth, a Premier League Bournemouth at the time, and suddenly hit the ground running, taken off, you'd always wonder what might have been with him, but that isn't the case, as you say. He's took an absolutely long road round, but I'm delighted for him. Yeah, I think he's earned his stripes. He probably deserves to be having this season right now, and there's already talk of him sort of moving on to bigger clubs, with all respect to Bournemouth, of course. But yeah, no hard feelings whatsoever from me. And it's interesting what Klopp said. Obviously, signing him was a really exciting time. I think on a free from Chelsea came in, didn't he? Yeah. But never really materialised for one reason or another. But yeah, wish him no ill feeling apart from for the next 2.5 hours.
The other thing with him and with players is it makes you realise, doesn't it, just how it is about timing.
Yes.
In someone's career. I mean, when you think about Dom Solanke and you think about what we had in Roberto Firmino, it was never going to be a like for like. But actually, if you look at Dom Solanke and what Liverpool have maybe moved towards this season, you could see him fitting in, but that just wasn't the way. And that, football's littered with those types of conversations and players that haven't worked at certain clubs and work at others. Mo Salah's one of them, isn't he? Probably the best example we've got of that. So, yeah, obviously the scouting was clearly good, but maybe not for the right time for Liverpool then.
Yeah, absolutely. Wish him all the best, just not today. Just quickly before we head to the Bournemouth team, Neto Cook Meffam. I just think it's funny because his name's got meth in it. Solanke, Christie, Tavernier, Sinistera, Clivert, Hill, Zabani. Yeah, Aarons as well. Yeah, we'll have a little a closer look at that when we return for the watch along, of course, in due time. But yes, anyway. Right, thank you so much for joining us for that one. Drop a like and we'll be back for the watch along in a bit. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the content today. If you want to get your name in and amongst these wonderful people, then head to redmenplus.com. Join as a Legend tier subscriber. You're going to get free merchandise codes. You're going to get in our Discord, and you're going to get your name at the end of YouTube videos. Yes, redmenplus.com, Legend tier state.